Right now, 7 reporter Ellie LaLiberte helps us to celebrate 150 years of Madison's public library system. Then details on negotiations between Anthem Insurance and UW Health as they look to make a deal. Then later, we've got the latest news out of Washington, what President Trump and his allies are saying following that contentious meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky. Good Sunday morning, and thanks for joining us on Weekend Mornings. I'm Kyle Pazarski, and we start with that look of the first warm forecast, and Jacob Montesano has that. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning, Kyle. Temperature is a bit colder compared to yesterday, but the good news is that we aren't seeing any wind. However, there are temperatures in the single digits. Some areas, especially in southern Wisconsin, still hanging on to the teens. But as I mentioned, the good news, the calm winds across much of the area, and that is going to be the case for most of the day. We also will see partly to mostly sunny skies, just a few on and off clouds. High temperatures will be in the middle 30s, very close to normal for this time of the year, and a little bit warmer compared to yesterday. La Crosse will have a very similar forecast. Partly sunny skies. Temperatures could reach the lower 40s, but otherwise mostly staying in the 30s. Now, clearly we're going to be dry throughout today, but we are going to see clouds increase later in the night, and we do have a slight chance of some rain showers early Monday. May even see a light wintry mix for some areas. However, the precipitation will be very light, maybe a little bit more consistent precipitation further north and east. Then we could see sunshine later in the day Monday before more clouds increase Monday night, and then we have a better chance of some rain showers later in the night Monday into early Tuesday. Once again in the form of mostly light rain, maybe some pockets of moderate rainfall, but this is not when the alert day begins. The alert day will begin during the afternoon hours when that consistent rain will move into the region. I'll have more details on this though coming up a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Madison's public library system will be hitting its latest big anniversary this summer. 150 years. And this morning, our Ellie LaLiberte takes a look back at all those years filled with stories and community service.
Lifelong learning was an important concept then as it is now.
Once upon a time, before city sanitation, water, or electricity,
we had public libraries.
Hannah Elias is the Madison Public Library director. She's worked in the library system for 32 years.
I have done, I would say, 80% of the jobs in a public library.
And since the beginning, the stories come a long way.
And here we are 150 years later, 9 libraries and a mobile dream bus and a 10th library on the way.
The library's first edition was in City Hall back in 1875.
150 years ago, in May 31st, Madison opened its first public library in the city. It was 2 rooms, 5,000 books, and there was a single librarian who would check out a book to you if you were male, 15 and older.
And as the city grew, the library system grew. In 1906, the first building owned by the Madison Free Library opened on the corner of Carroll and Dayton Street, where it stood until 1965, when it was then moved to the current location on Mifflin Street.
It was state-of-the-art at the time. Now it looks to us like an old bunker, but the idea was you protect the books from the light.
But Central Library, as we know it today, was remodeled in 2011 and reopened in 2013.
I think that libraries are one of the few remaining places where you can meet people that are very different from you and interact with people that are, maybe not in your neighborhood.
And as technology continues to change, the library is ready for its next chapter.
So really rethinking what we do in our spaces and the value that we bring to the community is something that we'll be looking at for the next 50, 100, 150 years.
Reporting in Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Ellie, thank you. To celebrate the milestone, the library will be holding events at all the locations throughout May. And there's also a challenge to check out 150 items in 2025. And you can find more information about both of those on madisonpubliclibrary.org/anniversary. Got some other news that are making headlines this morning overseas. Hamas is calling Israel's move to stop all humanitarian aid from going into Gaza cheap blackmail and a war crime. This comes as phase 1 of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas has now expired. Hamas is refusing a U.S.-backed extension to the initial deal that Israel supports and is insisting on advancing to the second phase. Meanwhile, an Israeli spokesperson says the fragile Gaza ceasefire deal will not continue without the release of more Israeli hostages. People who are insured through Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield could soon be losing coverage for treatment from UW Health. The insurance company's current agreement with Madison-based health system UW Health is set to expire on April 15th, and the two sides have been meeting to renegotiate that agreement, but have not come to a deal just yet. Right now, Anthem Insurance is still in network with UW Health as well as its affiliates, and if they don't, people with commercial insurance as well as Medicaid and Medicare Advantage products would likely be impacted. Approximately 95 acres of brush burned near Palmyra Friday evening. Interim Deputy Chief Dylan Collis says the large fire was reported near the Hillside Cemetery. That's where crews found approximately 20 acres of field on fire when they arrived. But due to the winds in excess of 20 miles per hour, the fire spread rapidly. It was contained and the cause is now under investigation. Fortunately, no one was injured. The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office has confirmed the death of two people found dead in their home Friday night. Initially, they said one person was found dead and didn't know the whereabouts of the other family members. But yesterday, they confirmed both a 51-year-old man and his wife were deceased in the home. They say a person of interest is currently being held in custody. Meanwhile, a juvenile has been arrested in Kansas, believed to be a person of interest in a Wisconsin double homicide. Police in Waukene, Kansas have not said where or when this happened in Wisconsin and not said if this is connected to the Waukesha incident. Waukene police further say the juvenile was arrested after a vehicle they were in ran a stop sign. The vehicle came back stolen out of Wisconsin. This is a live look now at the White House in D.C., our nation's capital. Well, across Europe and capitals across the world, questions are now swirling after President Trump's Oval Office confrontation with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Zelensky is now in London, where European leaders will be holding a summit today. The meeting comes as the leaders of Britain, France, and Ukraine are promising to create a ceasefire plan to present to the United States. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Outside 10 Downing Street in London Saturday, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky was greeted with an embrace from Prime Minister Keir Starmer and a promise of full support.
You have full backing across the United Kingdom, and we stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take.
Starmer, Zelensky, and other European leaders will hold a summit Sunday, where the central question now is how to heal Ukraine's relationship with its most important ally, the United States.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
After the Oval Office clash with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, Zelensky was told to leave the White House, and the signing of a planned multi-billion-dollar deal for Ukraine's minerals was canceled, which was intended to pave the way for ceasefire talks with Russia.
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things.
Many Republican leaders have praised Trump after the confrontation, but near the White House Saturday, protesters promised to stand with Ukraine.
They have no reason to believe Russia, so I'm here to support them any way I can.
A $3.8 billion U.S. shipment of military equipment was already promised to Ukraine. It's now not clear if Trump will approve its delivery. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
And President Trump is spending the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, where he has had phone calls with several world leaders. Time now is 7:09, still ahead. We take a look at what it takes to create the Oscars. Plus, Jacob is back with the full First Warn forecast. This is a Weekend Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. Quiet conditions today, and then we do have a small chance of some rain Monday and early Tuesday. But then as we get towards Tuesday afternoon, that's when the alert day will begin, and it is expected to last through Wednesday for the heavy rainfall, some wind, and some snow. Now, here's a look at the full alert day information. This is going to be for all of southern Wisconsin, but really all of Wisconsin as a whole will be dealing with alert day conditions. And again, Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday, let's take a look at that forecast. So light rain possible Monday, not going to amount to much, maybe a light wintry mix. So possibly some slippery roads at times, but temperatures will be likely in the 40s at that point, so we're not expecting too many hazardous travel conditions with that. And then for Monday night and Tuesday, we have another chance of some light rain, but as we get into Tuesday afternoon, that's when the consistent rain will begin to move in. Rain will likely be heavy at times, and it is expected to last throughout the entire evening and for most of the overnight hours. Now, later in the overnight hours, as we get the temperatures cooling down, that rain is expected to transition into snow, and for those of you further north and west, it will happen a lot earlier than us here in Madison. But throughout the day on Wednesday, that rain to snow transition is expected to continue, and by Wednesday afternoon and evening, we will only see snowfall, although at that point, the snow does look to be fairly light. But all of southern Wisconsin has the chance to see some of that snow. And then it does look to clear out Wednesday night into Thursday. So looking at the snowfall accumulation forecast, again, the further north and further northwest you're located, those areas will see the most snow. So about 1 to 2 for the Dells, 2 to 4 for La Crosse, and further northwest than that, those of you tuning in from Eau Claire, possibly around 4 to 6 inches. Madison and areas to the south and east, only about a dusting to a ½ inch of snow is expected at this time. But because the snow is expected to be a pretty wet snow, that could change very quickly. So Madison may see a little bit more if the forecast changes accordingly. But right now, we're not expecting much in the terms of snowfall for Madison, but everyone is expected to see plenty of rainfall. This is the rainfall accumulation forecast, about 1.5 inches to possibly 2 inches for some areas. And this is definitely the rainfall that we need considering our current drought situation. Also want to talk about the winds. They're going to be a little bit breezy for Monday and Tuesday. Gusts will be around 25 to 30 miles per hour during that time frame. But as the system moves in, we actually are going to get a little bit of a break from the winds as the low pressure moves through. So we could see very calm winds at points Tuesday night into early Wednesday. But by Wednesday afternoon, everyone will be seeing very gusty northwesterly winds, possibly gusting around 40 to 45 miles per hour. And then that looks to calm down by Thursday morning. So overall, very messy forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Now to more news. A new study is suggesting that China's Mars rover may have found evidence of an ancient beach on the red planet. In 2021, the rover landed in an area called the Utopia Basin, sounds fun, which dates back to about 4 billion years ago. It was also located near a series of ridges that scientists have questioned might represent the remnants of a shoreline. As the rover traveled along the ridges, it collected data up to 260 feet beneath the surface with radar. The radar detected sedimentary structures similar to layered beaches on Earth, and all had sloped in the same direction. In fact, the study's authors believe that those structures are foreshore deposits, which form as sediments carried by tides and waves slope downward toward an ocean. After ruling out some other possible origins for the dipping shapes, the researchers say the discovery indicates that Mars was once a much wetter place than it is today. Preparations ramped up for the Oscars red carpet on Saturday as crews look to bring excitement to Hollywood's biggest night. The Academy Awards crews have been hard at work all week leading up to showtime. An Academy Award pre-show and Arrivals producer Joe Lewis has been running the pre-show and Arrivals for nearly 2 decades. Well, he says it's all hands on deck right now to put together the Oscars vision every single year.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of collaboration amongst a lot of groups, the Academy, all of the departments, all of the crafts, and all the services. You know, it starts with a vision. You've got to get all of these people to come together for one final product, and I think that's the biggest challenge of all of this, right, is just getting everyone to come together. But once you get everyone together and everyone's chasing the same common goal, then, you know, that's when the magic happens.
Now, along with the prep work, media from all over the globe has descended on Hollywood, all to capture the excitement on full display. The Oscars will take place tonight at the Dolby Theater, of course, in Los Angeles. Well, it was 83 years ago when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed an executive order that sent 120,000 Japanese Americans into 10 internment camps built all across the country. And now a photo exhibit outside of Berkeley, California, is taking some historical images during that time and recreated them. all to help others understand what fellow Americans went through. Ryan Yakamoto takes us inside the gallery.
Satsuki Ina remembers the day when she discovered an historic photo of her father from 1942.
And even though the image of my dad is a little blurred, I recognized him right away.
The photo shows her father inside a jail at the Tule Lake internment camp in California, where nearly 19,000 of the 120,000 Japanese Americans taken from their homes were imprisoned during World War II. A jail she had a chance to visit, the side-by-side photo showing her standing and thinking inside her father's actual cell.
Just took some time to reflect on what it must have been like for him to be separated from his family, not knowing how long he's going to be gone or where he was going to be sent to.
The image of Satsuki, taken by Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Paul Kitagaki Jr., whose project and research began after he discovered a photo of his own family taken in Oakland before they were about to board a bus and sent to the internment camp in Topaz, Utah.
My grandparents, my aunt, and my dad, he's 14. I looked at my dad, he's wearing these jeans with these rolled up cuffs on his jeans. He's just sitting there really looking like, what the heck is going on?
Paul recreating the moment where the historic photo was taken.
This was a tough one.
One of the more iconic pairing of photos, 3 young Boy Scouts saluting the flag at the internment camp in Heart Mountain, Wyoming.
I like the symbolism of them. They're Boy Scouts. They're saluting the flag every morning and lowering the flag, showing respect to the United States of America. And here they are, locked behind barbed wire. It's just such a shameful part of American history.
It is a part of history Satsuki Ina now travels the country, speaking about the links of the Japanese-American experience to what is happening today with other immigrant groups.
The same rationale that's being used today to do mass roundup and detention of asylum seekers and other immigrants.
Now with the hopes that history does not repeat itself. Ryan Yamamoto, CBS News, Berkeley, California.
And it's 7:20, still ahead here on this show. Got some sports highlights and Jacob's quick check of the forecast. Plus, here's a look at today's day in history.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the current drought monitor. This is as recent as February 27th, which was this past Thursday. This does show moderate drought across far southern Wisconsin, a pocket in the center portion of the state not under a drought. But the good news is that we are going to see plenty of rain with that system, possibly up around 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So it will definitely eat into that drought. Now, until then, we have a few small chances of rainfall, but after that, it does look like we are going to be dry to end the week. But with the amount of rain that is expected during this time frame, we definitely could afford a little bit of a break from the rain. And it does show, based on the 10-day forecast, we aren't expected to see much at the end of this week or early next week. However, those temperatures are going to be very mild. So even those that want to see the rainfall will probably be happy, especially after how much rain that is expected for Tuesday into Wednesday.
Well, in a huge trade Saturday, Pro Bowl wide receiver Deebo Samuel will head to the Washington Commanders. A person with knowledge of this trade tells the Associated Press that the Commanders have acquired Samuel from the San Francisco 49ers for a 5th-round pick. The 29-year-old will now give the Commanders another playmaker for quarterback Jaden Daniels going into his 2nd NFL season. Samuel had 51 catches for 670 yards and 3 touchdowns last season with the 49ers. President Donald Trump says he is planning on pardoning the late baseball legend Pete Rose in the coming weeks. Trump made the announcement on social media Saturday while calling on Rose to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Rose was banned from baseball in 1989 for betting on games, including his own team, the Cincinnati Reds. He was also made ineligible for the Hall of Fame, despite topping Major League Baseball's all-time hit list over his 24-season career. Rose died last year at the age of 83. Next to the NHL, where a long-standing record could soon be broke. On Saturday, Washington Capitals star Alexander Ovechkin scored his 884th career goal, becoming just 10 shy of Wayne Gretzky's record. Gretzky retired back in 1999 after 20 years in the league, and Ovechkin began playing back in 2005 and has stayed with the Capitals his entire career. The Capitals will next play the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night. And in the NBA, Milwaukee beat the Dallas Mavericks 132-117 last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. Damian Lillard scored 28. And they have surged into 4th place in the Eastern Conference, and they'll face Atlanta Tuesday in Atlanta. Andrew has some local sports highlights coming up in our next half hour. Still ahead here on Weekend Mornings, got today's top headlines. Stick with us. A possible disruption coming to the healthcare coverage of Wisconsinites, and we've got those details straight ahead. Plus, Israel is blocking aid from getting into Gaza as phase 1 of the ceasefire now expires. This is Weekend Mornings, and once again, we thank you for joining us here on this final half hour. It is Sunday, March the 2nd. And let's start with a look at the first warm forecast. Jacob Madison has that. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Kyle. Temperatures still on the colder side. In fact, right now, they're actually a bit colder compared to this time yesterday. Some areas in the single digits, teens for far southern Wisconsin. Temperatures during the afternoon will be warmer, and the good news right now is that the winds are very calm, and the winds are also expected to remain calm for most of the day. So looking at the forecast, highs will be in the middle 30s compared to the upper 20s we saw yesterday. We'll see a few clouds here and there, but otherwise a lot of sunshine, and as I mentioned, very calm winds, and that's going to be the case for you folks in La Crosse as well. You folks in La Crosse, though, may actually get into the lower 40s. So no precipitation today. We'll see some clouds increase overnight with some light rain for Monday morning. Could even see a little bit of a wintry mix, but temperatures will get into the 40s, so we're likely not going to see any travel become too hazardous. More consistent rain is expected for areas further north and east, and we actually are expected to see some sunshine later in the day. Now, as we get into Monday night and Tuesday morning, we could see more light rain, maybe a little bit heavier this time around, move into our area, but then we're going to get another little break before the alert day begins Tuesday afternoon, where that consistent rain will move in, and I'll have more details on this alert day coming up a little bit later.
Thank you. Now to some news topping headlines this morning. Patients with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield could soon be losing their coverage from UW Health. The Madison-based health system's current agreement with the insurance company is set to expire on April 15th. The two sides have been meeting to renegotiate that agreement. And right now, Anthem Insurance is still in network with UW as well as its affiliates. But if the two don't come to a deal by that April deadline, people with commercial insurance as well as Medicaid and Medicare Advantage products could be impacted. Wisconsin's spring election is a month away, and voters will be choosing the next Supreme Court justice for Wisconsin. And it's a position that will be held for the next decade. And though the race is officially nonpartisan, both sides are heavily involved. News 3 Now is speaking with both candidates starting this week, and we sit down with Dane County Judge Susan Crawford. Crawford is viewed as the liberal candidate in the race, and she tells our Will Keneally that she's working to get support of the voters by being upfront when they ask her a question.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg is somebody who is kind of a hero of mine, both for her advocacy in working to expand rights and get the rights of equal protection for women recognized by the Wisconsin Supreme Court, first as a lawyer and then as a justice. And more locally, Chief Justice Shirley Abrahamson is somebody who I just really revered.
And you can hear more from this interview on For the Record later today at 10:30. And we'll be sitting down with the other candidate, former Attorney General Brad Schimmel, next week. Well, this coming May, the Madison Public Library System will be hitting its latest big anniversary, 150 years. It was back in 1906 when their first building ever was owned by the Madison Free Library, and it opened on the corner of Carroll and Dayton Street, where it stood until 1965. The Central Library, as we now know it today, was remodeled in 2011 and reopened in 2013. And the library's director says that while the building have changed, the goal and purpose has not.
I think that libraries are one of the few remaining places where you can meet people that are very different from you and interact with people that are, maybe not in your neighborhood.
To celebrate the milestone, the library will be holding its events at all the locations through May, and there is also a challenge to check out 150 items this year. Overseas, Hamas is calling Israel's move to stop all humanitarian aid from going into Gaza cheap blackmail and a war crime. This comes as phase 1 of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas has now expired. Hamas is refusing a U.S.-backed extension to that initial phase that Israel does support and is insisting on advancing to the second phase. Meanwhile, an Israeli spokesperson says the fragile Gaza ceasefire will not continue without the release of more Israeli hostages. Otherwise, the Prime Minister's office warns there will be additional consequences. Coming up on 7:35, still ahead, Kyran Lee has a new health conversation on staying healthy during vacation. We're back in a bit.
Forecast for the next couple of days. Today will be a little bit better than yesterday, still on the colder side. In fact, temperatures will be very close to normal for this time of the year. Highs will be in the middle to upper 30s with partly sunny skies. And then later tonight, with the clouds increasing, low temperatures won't be as cold as what they are right now. We'll have lows in the upper 20s and lower 30s. And then looking at the high temperatures for the next 10 days, they're mostly going to be in the 40s, if not better than that. So tomorrow and Tuesday, we'll have highs near 50, then near 40 for Wednesday and Thursday. And then after that, we will slowly incline in those temperatures. And by next weekend, we could have highs in the 50s, possibly in the 60s by early next week. And looking even beyond the 10-day forecast, the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook shows very above normal temperatures for our area. So we may be talking about not just the first 60s this year, but possibly even the first 70s this year by the end of the 10-day forecast.
All right, Jacob, thank you. So going on vacation, it can expose us to a bunch of numerous different germs and viruses and also disrupt your diet and exercise routine. This morning, our Kyran Lee sits down with Dr. Rupa Shah with some advice on how to avoid those travel-related illnesses.
Spring vacations will be here before we know it. Joining us now is Dr. Shah. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So is there anything people should do before they travel to help prevent against any illnesses?
Definitely, yep. As sort of a frequent traveler, I have some kind of like pre-travel rules that I always do. And number one is if you're traveling to any far-flung destination, you should probably schedule with a travel clinic. They specialize in all the certain diseases that you might be exposed to when you travel. Typhoid, malaria, hepatitis A. This is where you can go and get any medications you might need prior to travel, any vaccinations you need for countries that have these special, diseases you might be exposed to. And they can just fill you in on what things to be on the lookout for when you visit that particular country. The certain insects they have there, or just precautions that you should take when you travel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so let's talk about self-care while on vacation. I guess that's the whole point of it when we're supposed to go. So what are some tips for taking care of yourself while you're out of your regular routine?
Yeah. I mean, it can be, you spend all this time planning this vacation, so you want to, you're really wanting to pack so much in, but sometimes we overdo it and we can really exhaust ourselves. So it's a good idea to potentially schedule in 1 or 2 days of just rest and relaxation, some downtime so that you're not constantly on the run. The more we're running, especially when we're in a different country, we're not sleeping in our own bed, we tend to get very fatigued. It can really draw our immune system down and make us more susceptible to illnesses. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, especially if there's any time differences. You may really have some jet lag and you might need to recover from that, and make sure you're staying hydrated as well, of course.
Yes, all good tips there. And so speaking of kind of, letting loose and letting your hair down, I know vacation is a time to, let go, but sometimes we can overindulge in food and beverages. So is there any tips for, staying the course and enjoying yourself at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's just being mindful, right? Of course, when you're in a different country, you want to explore their different foods and have some more cocktails, and we tend to overindulge and take in a few extra calories, which is fine, but just everything in moderation and just making sure that you balance that with fruits and vegetables and getting enough fiber when you're on vacation as well. And certain times when you're visiting these countries, there are some really interesting fruits and vegetables that you might want to try, so it's a good opportunity to kind of balance that diet out, but just being mindful of not overindulging too much and each and every day while you're on vacation.
Yes, being mindful and taking care of yourself. All good things. Dr. Shaw, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
And it's 7:42. Next on Weekend Mornings, Andrew will check in with Saturday's sports headlines. Plus, Jacob is back with a full check of the first warn forecast. This is Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a final look at the 3 things you need to know. We're going to see quiet conditions today with some light rain possible Monday and then again early Tuesday. But the bulk of the precipitation that we're expecting this week will come starting Tuesday afternoon when the alert day will begin. And then we're going to see some windy conditions and some possible snow throughout this system. So taking a look at the alert day information, this is for all of southern Wisconsin, beginning in that Tuesday afternoon time frame, lasting through much of the day on Wednesday. It will finally clear out by Thursday morning. So here's a look at the rainfall forecast. Light precipitation Monday, not going to be a big issue. Also could see some of that light precipitation Monday night into Tuesday, but we are expecting a brief break from the rainfall before that consistent precipitation moves in during the afternoon hours and evening Tuesday. And throughout the evening and early overnight hours Tuesday, we are expecting consistent rain, sometimes heavy rain. A few isolated thunderstorms are possible as well. But then as we take a look at the north and west, you folks in Eau Claire will see the snow a lot earlier, but as those temperatures cool down, the rain will transition to snow, and that's going to continue throughout the late overnight hours Tuesday and much of Wednesday as well. So southern Wisconsin should see snow at some point, although the accumulating snow is not expected as much for the far southern portion of the state. All this precipitation then will clear out overnight Wednesday, will be dry by Thursday morning. And looking at that snowfall accumulation forecast, the further northwest you're located, the more snow you will see. Only about a ½ inch, if not less than that, for Madison and surrounding areas. About 1 to 2 for the Dells, about 2 to 4 for La Crosse, and further up north, you folks in Eau Claire could see about 4 to 6 inches with this storm. Now, the snow accumulation forecast could definitely change if the temperatures do indeed cool down a bit earlier, but right now we're not expecting a lot of snow in Madison, but we definitely could see some falling snow at points. Now, as we take a look at the rainfall forecast, pretty much everybody will see a lot of rain, possibly up to 1.5 inches of rain. So this is definitely some rain that we definitely need because our current drought situation does show a moderate drought. Also want to touch on the winds. We'll see gusts around 30 miles per hour for tomorrow and Tuesday. But then as that system moves in, we're going to see a brief break in the winds. And then as the winds shift out of the northwest, they are going to get pretty gusty, especially for Wednesday afternoon and evening, where we could see those wind gusts up around 40, maybe even 45 miles per hour. So a very messy forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday. But the good news is that after that, we're going to be very quiet to end this week and early next week. And it also will be very, very mild, especially by next Tuesday, where we could even see a few areas flirting not just with 60s, but maybe even 70s. So it'll definitely feel like spring then. But until then, we do have plenty of rain in the forecast and that transition into snow with some windy weather for your Wednesday.
For so many people around our great state, last night is the night they wait all year for, the chance to wrestle for a state championship at the Kohl Center in front of more than 17,000 fans. And what a championship Saturday it was for Evansville in Division II. The Blue Devils got the party started right away. Colin Fry gets the takedown there. That was en route to a 14-8 decision to take home the 106-pound crown. Colton Bolig was up next, and he put Dodgeville's Shane Rochon on his back to win it by fall in the second period and take home the 113-pound title. And then at 157, Danny Heiser gets back points to cap off a 19-2 Tech Fall win and become the 31st four-time state champion in Wisconsin wrestling history.
To bring home 4 state titles for this town, the town of Evansville, that's done so much for me and just given all this to me. So it's great to finally give something back. It means a lot. Younger me would have been really really proud of that.
But Evansville wasn't the only big winners on Championship Saturday. Sugar River's Blake Endress was looking for his first state title in the Division II 126-pound bracket, and he would get it. And, of course, gets the celebration afterwards, deservingly so, thanks to a 13-3 major. Dodgeville's Haken Peterson, he just had that look in his eye from the start of the match, and the two-time champ by night's end would be a three-time state champion. The 144-pounder tech-falled his way to the top of the podium. In Division III, Pecatonica Argyle's Aiden Grunenfelder needed a late takedown to win his second state title, and he'd get it to cap off his senior season at a perfect 59-0. And then in 144, Mineral Point's Rowan Carey finally breaks free and claims his first state championship, winning with a major decision and becoming the Pointers' 57th individual state champion. And in the girls' division, Milton's Maddie Peach entered the finals undefeated on the year, and she stayed that way thanks to a dominating performance. Peach takes home her second straight state title with a 17-2 Tech Fall win.
I don't know, it just feels good. I going into my matches, I always just try and not let the nerves get to me and just trust on my training and just go out there and wrestle and not get too much into my mind and my opponent. Honestly, it just feels good. I put a lot of work in.
Casey O'Brien entered this weekend 6 points shy of the Wisconsin women's hockey all-time points record. She had 1 point on Friday, meaning she needed 5 goals or assists yesterday to break the record. Now, doing that in one game sounds insane, and it is, but O'Brien didn't even need the full game. She wanted to get it done in one period. Badgers leading 1-0 3 minutes in, and they wanted more. O'Brien puts it on a platter for Kirsten Sims. The Badgers were scoring in this one at a pace unlike anything I'd ever seen. They scored 5 goals in the first 6 minutes of the game, trying to get Casey that record and fast, including this assist. She'd rack up all 5 points in the first period, securing her spot alone as the program's all-time points leader. The Badgers win it 11-0 and are on to the WCHA final face-off next weekend. That's your morning sports fix. Have a sensational Sunday.
Thank you, Andrew. And still ahead here on Weekend Mornings, it's World.
Hey, Kyle. Yeah, coming up this morning on For the Record, we actually have a pretty expansive one-on-one sit-down with one of the candidates running for Wisconsin Supreme Court. Susan Crawford joins us. Now we talk about her judicial philosophy and how and when justices on that high court should overturn existing precedent. Think like overturning Roe v. Wade on the U.S. Supreme Court a couple years ago. Now we also take a look at the legacy of racial covenants here in Dane County with a local advocate. Now that's all ahead this morning at 10:30.
It's World Teen Mental Wellness Day, and health experts say parents and caregivers, they play a critical role in their teenagers' emotional well-being. So listen up. A CDC survey of youth collected in 2021 found increasing mental health challenges, as well as experiences of violence and suicidal thoughts and behavior amongst all teens. Experts say it is critical for parents to talk to their children about mental health, and middle school age in particular is a very important time to have those conversations. Jacob Madison checks in now with one final check of your first warn forecast. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Kyle. Today is going to be pretty quiet. We'll have partly sunny skies, temperatures a little bit warmer, and then tomorrow the temperatures will continue to warm up, but we do have a small chance of rain on Monday. However, our attention is focused on Tuesday, where we're expecting consistent rain to move in by the afternoon, continuing overnight and into Wednesday. And then the winds will shift out of the northwest late Tuesday night and early Wednesday, causing some cooler temperatures and will cause the rain to transition into snow. But if you're located in La Crosse, Eau Claire, that snow will start a lot earlier than it will here in Madison. And we are expected to see some rain snow mix throughout the day on Wednesday. By the evening Wednesday, though, it will likely be all snow, and accumulation will be minimal for Madison, but could see a few inches further north and west. After that system moves out, we are looking very quiet and very nice for the end of this week. Highs will be in the 40s and then 50s to start next week, possibly 60s next Tuesday, and a few areas could even flirt with 70s. So very nice weather is at the end of the forecast.
All right, Jacob, thank you, and thank you all for watching. We hope you have a great Sunday, folks.